Hi everyone, welcome to the first astrology video in a series of videos I'll be doing explaining astrological concepts. I thought I'd start today with the very basics, talking about the houses of astrology. I know a lot of people, when they think about astrology, they think about their sun sign, and when you think about romantic or friendship or even business compatibility, you're still thinking about your sun sign. And that's the question you ask people when you meet them, like, hey, what's your sign? Or maybe you don't ask that because you're not a weirdo like me, but I'm always curious to see where people fall on the spectrum. So when people are thinking about the zodiac, they're thinking about sun signs, but there's a whole spectrum of planets in the solar system that affect and have a lot of say when it comes to a person's personality. So before we even get to what those planets are, we need to have a firm foundations on the very, very basics, which is the 12 houses of the zodiac. So if you're a rise, like if you know what your rising sign is, for example, a lot of people will say, like, I'm a Scorpio, Libra rising. In my case, I'm an Aries, Gemini rising. That means that your first house is in Gemini. If you're a Gemini rising, your first house is in Gemini. So that's, but you still might not understand what having a first house means or in what ways your first house impacts your overall personality. So that's what I'm trying to get across in this video, the 12 houses of the zodiac. So house number 1 is ruled naturally by Aries. Aries has a planetary ruler in the planet of Mars. So Aries is an aggressive sign. The first house you can think of as an aggressive first house. Aggressive not necessarily in the negative way, but it's a house of identity. It's the house of your sense of self. It's the first impression people have when they meet you. It isn't your sun sign that people walk away thinking about when they think of you that first time, that first impression. It's your first house, because that's the mask that we wear when our guard is a little bit up and we're unsure of how to behave in a situation. You're behaving with your rising sign. You're behaving with your first house, which, like I said, is naturally ruled by Aries. Your house of identity, your house of sense of self. It's how you view yourself unconsciously, and it's what you project out in the world amongst groups of people. Your second house is naturally ruled by the sign of Taurus. Taurus's ruler is the planet Venus, the planet of love and beauty. Your second house in an astrological chart consists of money, materialism, values, your sense of self-worth. And some people find their self-worth in their possessions and how much money they have in the bank, but some people also find their self-worth as, you know, as a matter of emotional comfort and material comfort. It's the things that make you feel comfortable and beautiful, and so you are invested in them, right? They boost your self-esteem. Your second house is your house of financial, material, and emotional security. Your third house in the zodiac is ruled by Gemini. Gemini's natural ruler is Mercury. So Gemini and Mercury refer to communication. So your third house is how you communicate in your surroundings, your community, your neighborhood. It's your relationship with your siblings. It's how you express yourself when you talk. Your fourth house is naturally ruled by Cancer. Your fourth house is also an angular house, which is an important house. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So your fourth house is ruled by issues involving your family, ancestry, your roots. It's your home, when, you know, the place that raised you and nurtured you, but it's also the place that you view as a home right now. Your fifth house is naturally ruled by Leo. Leo's planetary ruler is the sun. Your fifth house is the house of fun. It's the house of recreation. It's the house of activities, hobbies, where you come to life children, your inner child, things that you want to brag about and put in the spotlight. Your fifth house is your house of fun. It's also your house of dating. It's where you can see how a person will view dating or relate to a dating situation. Is you want to look at what's happening in their fifth house. Your sixth house is naturally ruled by Virgo. Virgo's planetary ruler is Mercury. Your sixth house rules your daily chores, your mundane, everyday life, work, your routines, your health. All of those things are ruled by Virgo. They're ruled by your sixth house. Your seventh house is your house of relationships. It's your house of one-on-one contracts. It's your house of relating to others. It's the opposite house of the first house, which is your house of self, Aries. Libra is the opposite of Aries. So a Libra is thinking of balance and harmony and how to find those things outside of their person, and what they value is found in their relationships with other people. So when you're thinking of things like marriage and commitment in a natal or in a synastry chart, you want to see what planets are activated in your seventh house, which is ruled by Libra, and Libra's planetary ruler is Venus. Again, the planet of love, beauty, and harmony. And Libras are all about harmony and peace and beauty. Then we're going to move into our eighth house. Our eighth house is ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio's planetary ruler is Mars, or Pluto, if you believe in modern astrology, or not believe in, but if you follow modern astrology. I was trained in traditional astrology, so I view of Scorpio's ruler as Mars, but I'm totally fine viewing it as Pluto as well. So Mars, Pluto, it's an intense, aggressive house. The eighth house is your house of taboo, your house of sex, your house of death, your house of rebirth, your house of dealing with other people's financial issues, will, inheritances, taxes, things that can potentially be a burden to you, things that might make you feel like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, but somehow it's landed in my lap, so I'm going to oversee it. The occult, spirituality, things that are taboo. All of those things are ruled by Scorpio. Secrets, things that could make you feel suspicious about being vulnerable with other people are ruled by the eighth house. Your ninth house is ruled by Sagittarius. Sagittarius' planetary ruler is Jupiter. If you follow modern astrology, then it's actually no, it's just Jupiter. Sorry, I'm thinking of Pisces. We'll get to Pisces later. So suffice to say, your ninth house is ruled by Sagittarius. Your ninth house is your house of philosophy, your house of ideals, your house of values, and your morality, education, travel. The way you define your core personal beliefs can be found in your ninth house. So if you find yourself in a relationship with someone, and even though they're a kind person and you like them otherwise, but for some reason you just can't see eye to eye, like you just can't compromise with them, they don't understand your point of view, you might have an affected ninth house relationship with that person. Your 10th house is a career house. That's your MC, where your midheaven is sometimes found. It's ruled by Capricorn. Capricorn's planetary ruler is Saturn. It's a stoic planet. It can be considered a cold planet. The Capricorn 10th house is the house of ambitions. It's where you find out, what career would be suitable for you if you're looking at a natal chart. It's also how your public persona, how people see you, can be found in your 10th house. So remember what I said, your rising sign is what you initially project when you're trying to read a room. And so it's the face you wear as you're trying to read a room. Like, okay, how do I adapt to the situation? Let me put on my rising sign face, right? Once you start working, once you start figuring out how to blend in to an environment, the persona people see, your public face, your constant public face, your reputation is what your 10th house is, okay? That's what they're seeing. They're seeing whatever sign is ruling your 10th house. Your 11th house is your house of friendships, your house of dreams, your house of community. It's ruled by Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. Aquarians and Saturn, and if you're a follower of modern astrology, or Uranus. Um, so there's going to be a sense of rebellion and independence when you come to your 11th house, and how you approach your friendships, the kind of friend you are, the kind of community member you are, is largely defined by what's in your 11th house. And then you come to your house of Pisces, your 12th house. That is your house of self undoing, your house of the subconscious. And that is ruled by Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter. And this is what I was just going to say earlier when I had Pisces on the brain, but I was talking about Sagittarius. Pisces can have two rulers. If you follow modern astrology, then you think of Neptune as the ruler of Pisces. When you hear somebody say, "Oh, that person's totally Neptunian," they're talking about their Piscean traits. But Pisces in traditional astrology is ruled by Jupiter. So there's a sense of like this watery blendedness of the subconscious collective. You have deep empathy. You really pick up on the vibes of other people. People with lots of 12th house planets in their natal chart are often misunderstood, or people project onto them the things that they want to see, putting a 12th house person in an uncomfortable position to be something that they aren't, through no fault of their own, because planets that are found in the 12th house have repressed energy. So because there's already a subconscious sense of confusion about a 12th house person, you then project things onto them. But 12th house people are some of the deepest, most deeply transformative, healing people. And I myself have a 12th house moon, which later on, when I do videos about planets through the houses and how they reflect the energy of the houses, you'll understand a little bit more about what I mean about repressive energy. But just as an aside, with me having a Gemini moon in the 12th house, that means that even though I am naturally inquisitive and curious the way a Gemini would, I can be very shy and guarded about my feelings in certain situations. And I certainly never want people to know what it is exactly that I'm thinking, for fear of being misunderstood. And again, that just comes from that 12th house, the fact that I'm a deeply empathetic person and can pick up someone else's energy, and thus affecting my own energy, makes me very, very cautious when I walk into a room. But because my rising sign is also Gemini, and my 12th house moon conjuncts my ascendant, you'll often, most people will say, "Oh my God, Mitzi, she's an extroverted person." And I am extroverted, but I'm an introvert. I'm deeply introverted as well. So it's really fascinating once we start getting into the nitty gritty of astrology. A lot of things about yourself will start making sense to you. There's probably someone out there watching that says, "Oh man, like, I'm a Cancer, but I cannot relate to anything that I read about Cancer. Like, I just don't get it." And that's probably because you have other aspects of your chart that are more elevated than the Cancer aspect. Like, if you just have your sun in Cancer, but say you have like 5 planets in Sagittarius, you're probably going to have, not probably, you will have more of a Sagittarian energy to you that's overshadowing your Cancery nature. So again, these are going to be fun things, and as we move on in our astrology series, I will be talking to you more about these things and what to look for when you pull up your natal chart. But for now, I just wanted you to have a very basic understanding of the 12 houses of astrology, the energy within those houses, and what to look for. And hopefully this inspires you to pull up your natal chart. A wonderful website I'd like to recommend to pull up your natal chart is www.astro.com. It's free, it's comprehensive, and you should be able to very quickly pull up a chart and then go through their interactive portrait section to read about some of these qualities. And I look forward to chatting more astrology with you next week. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to continue our soul journey together. Thanks. Bye.